Hello, this is Miss Robin again, and I'm back with your drama and theme quiz for today. We only have one passage in this quiz. It is titled The American Revolutionary Play. So you've been reading plays, dramas this week. Characters are Narrator 1, Narrator 2, John Hancock, Paul Revere, George Washington, Colonist 1, Colonist 2, Colonist 3, Captain John Parker, and Thomas Jefferson. Scene 1, that's like a setting in a book. A scene in a play is like a setting in a book. Colonist 1 and 2 are on stage together, so those are stage directions. Colonist 2, while this character is looking at the paper, says, "Ever since the Townshend Act was passed, this paper is so expensive." Stomps off the stage angrily. That's the action, the stage direction. Colonist 1, says, "All legal documents are being taxed as well. It is called the Stamp Act. Handsome Humphrey will never be able to afford to get a marriage license for us," and she starts crying. Then Colonist 3 walks onto the stage. "Hi, everyone. I just got back from the Boston Tea Party." Colonist 1 says, while she's dancing with a radio on her shoulder, "Did somebody say a party? I love parties. Let's dance." And she does a silly dance and runs off the stage. Then Colonist 3 says, "Not that kind of party. The Boston Tea Party was a protest of the Tea Act. The British government put a tax on the tea that was being shipped to our colony." Colonist 1 runs back on stage. "Tea? Who has tea? I love tea." Then runs back off the stage. Colonist 2 says, "King George III just passed the Intolerable Act. Now that harbor is closed, we can't have town meetings without approval. And I have to let the British troops stay in my house. They stunk up my bathroom last time." Narrator 1 says, "The colonists were sick of the British Empire, trying to control them by passing laws and taxing. They organized the First Continental Congress for their national government. George Washington was chosen to be commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. The British heard that colonists had weapons and they headed to Boston." Scene 2, Paul Revere yells and pretends to ride a horse and says, "My name is Paul Revere. The British are coming, I hear. I came from Boston on my horse all the way to Lexington, Massachusetts, of course. Minutemen, go and grab your gun, protect our freedom, and have some fun," while he rides off the stage. Narrator 2 gives some more factual information. On April 19, 1775, 70 American men stood up to fight in the 600 British redcoats marching to Concord. Captain John Parker led the colonists. And Captain John Parker says, "Stand your ground, men. If they want a war, let it begin here." Narrator 1 says, "The Minutemen were completely outnumbered and the British troops marched on to Concord after Captain Parker ordered the Minutemen to disband. Captain John Parker says, 'I think now's a good time to run,' and runs off the stage." Narrator 2 comes back and says, "The British troops arrived in Concord and the battle continued. The American colonists wanted to set up forts on Bunker Hill, but set up on Breed's Hill instead because it was closer to the harbor. The battle was still called the Battle of Bunker Hill. General Howe led the redcoats to the hill to take it over." Narrator 1 says the British Army took over Breed's Hill and counted the battle their victory. The colony army lost around 450 men and the British Army lost over 1,000 men. Narrator 2 says, "While all the battling was taking place, the colonists agreed they should have certain rights. Colonists 1 and 2 both said, 'I want the right to life and liberty.' Colonist 3 said, 'How about the pursuit of happiness?' Colonist 1 says, 'How about the right to a cheeseburger?' 'What? I'm hungry.' Colonist 2 says, 'We should get good old Thomas Jefferson to write a document for us.' All colonists say, 'Yeah, good idea.' Thomas Jefferson writes on the paper. Then he says, 'I, Thomas Jefferson, present to you, the Congress, the Declaration of Independence. Hey, John Hancock, would you like to sign it first?' John Hancock says, 'Sure I do. I will remember this day always. July 4th, 1776 is the best day ever.' Thomas Jefferson says, 'Who wants to ring the big bell to let everyone know about the good news?' John Hancock says, 'Oh, I do. Pick me. I'll do it, please.' Thomas Jefferson says, 'Okay, John, you can ring the bell. Let's call it the Liberty Bell.' John Hancock says, 'Sweet. That has a nice ring to it. Get it? Ring it to it.' That's a pun. Narrator 2. The Revolutionary War lasted for 8 years total. George Washington led the American troops to major victories during this time. In all, there were 17 major battles in the Revolutionary War. George Washington says, "My troops and I won the Battle of Yorktown against General Cornwallis. On October 19, 1781, Cornwallis surrendered. We rock." Narrator 1 says, 2 more years went by with small battles occurring in some areas. Then, in 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, which was a peace agreement between Americans and the British. This was proof that the British finally recognized the 13 colonies as free states. Okay, here come the questions. Which character trait defines Colonist 1 in the play? A, bitter, B, humorous, C, gloomy, and D, judgmental. Well, if you go back, Colonist 1 was the one who talked about wanting a cheeseburger. And Colonist 1 was also the one at the very beginning who was worried about the Stamp Act because she wanted a marriage license and she liked parties and tea. So, knowing that, decide. Eliminate 2. Bitter, humorous, gloomy, judgmental. Eliminate 2 and choose the one that you think represents or is the character trait of Colonist 1. Make sure you pause to underline and number evidence. Number 2, the author used what type of rhyme scheme in Paul Revere's dialogue? My name is Paul Revere. The British are coming, I hear. I came from Boston on my horse, all the way to Lexington, Massachusetts, of course. Minutemen, go and grab your gun, protect our freedom, and have some fun. Why, I see Revere and here, they rhyme. Horse and course, they rhyme. Gun and fun, they rhyme. So what would it be? A, A, B, B, C, C? A, B, A, B, A, B? A, B, C, A, B, C? Or A, B, B, A, B, B? Okay, now you would want to underline this in the passage for evidence for number 2. I'll pause while you pause the video and go back and do that. All right, continuing on to number 3. The following words in parentheses, stomps off the stage angrily, is an example of, okay, well, all of those were actions. They were telling the actors what to do. So what is that? A, prologue, B, stage directions, C, dialogue, or D, epilogue? Well, we haven't really talked about an epilogue, so you can eliminate that. You have to eliminate one other and choose what's right. You can also go back and find stomps off the stage angrily in the very beginning of the play to underline for evidence while we pause. Number 4. What is the significance of the 2 narrators in the play? A, they added to the comical tone. B, they add factual information about the historical time period. C, they set a satirical tone. D, they define the characters in the play. Okay, well, let's go back and look. If I go back into the play, I notice that every time the narrators talk, they're giving me facts. They're telling me where the battles were. They're telling me how many men were lost. They were telling me who won the battles. So I would underline one of those where the narrator was giving me facts. Here, the very last line is the narrator was telling us that the Treaty of Paris was signed to create a peace agreement between the Americans and the British. So that could be evidence for this question, number 4. So please eliminate 2 and choose the one you want. Make sure you underline and number evidence in the passage while I pause. Number 5. Scene 1 is mainly about A, the battles during the American Revolutionary War, B, signing the Declaration of Independence, C, the laws and the taxes that the British passed, D, the Boston Tea Party. Now, they only talked about the Boston Tea Party. That was only one of the details that they talked about in the beginning. And signing the Declaration of Independence was only one detail at the very end. So, decide what you want to eliminate, pick the answer that you feel is best, and underline evidence in the passage. Number 6, what would be a short theme, a universal theme of this drama? This play. A, love, B, honesty, C, perseverance, D, obedience, which means to obey. Okay, please eliminate 2 and choose the one you feel is best. Of course, we know what love is and honesty. Perseverance is never giving up. Obedience is meaning to obey. Choose your answer. After you've eliminated 2, please go back in the passage I would look for evidence at the very end, maybe even the last sentence for evidence for number 6. Number 7. What would be the long theme, specific lesson of this drama? A, love lasts through all challenges. B, never tell a lie. C, never give up fighting for what you believe in. D, obey your parents. Okay, well, whatever you choose for the long theme has got to match what you chose up here. So if you chose love, you choose the long specific lesson that has to do with love. Honesty, you choose the long specific lesson that has to do with honesty. If you chose perseverance, you choose the long specific lesson that has to do with perseverance. If you chose obedience, you choose the long specific lesson that fits obedience. So please eliminate based on how you answered up here in question 6. Eliminate in question 7, pick the correct answer, what you feel is the best answer, and underline evidence. Honestly, the evidence for both 6 and 7 would be the same. Number 8. What evidence best proves the short and long theme you chose? A, the British troops arrived in Concord and the battle continued. B, this was proof that the British finally recognized the 13 colonies as free states. C, the colony army lost around 450 men and the British army lost over 1,000 men. D, okay, John, you can ring the bell. So think about what theme you chose up here and think about what text evidence proves it. Go back and number, you probably already have it underlined, but number that evidence in the passage with number 8. All right, the short answer. How did colonists show perseverance, not giving up from the beginning to the end of the drama to defeat the British? Don't forget about reading, underlining, labeling, and doing everything. Answer, explain your answer, give one quote from the text and a second quote from the text. So, reading it, how did the colonists show perseverance, not giving up from the beginning to the end of the drama to defeat the British? Well, I've read it, so now underline. You would want to put a box around your question word and underline. Did the colonists show perseverance? So how? Box it. Did the colonists show perseverance? That's the only question word I see here, and it's only a power verb I have. However, evidence is always required. But since I only have one box, we'll put just one letter A, and that will count for your labeling. Now you can answer. So explain why you think the colonists showed perseverance from the beginning to the end. And then go back and quote 2 sentences at least from the text to prove your answer. And when I say quote, I mean copy them, word for word, neatly, from the text onto these lines. Okay. After you have copied the evidence, you've answered the question, you copied the evidence, you know that you've read it, you've underlined the important parts of the question, you've labeled the parts A, you explained how they persevered all the way through, you quoted one sentence from the passage you think proves that they persevered, and a second sentence from the passage that you think shows that they persevered. If you've done all that, you're golden. Have a great day.